Hello, fifth graders. I'm coming at you again for our third lesson in second step. Um, so I feel like this has been going really well in person. I hope that you guys are enjoying it on video. I know it's probably not as interesting as when I do it in person. Okay, so today we're just going to start with a recap of everything that we have done in lesson 1 and 2. But we're definitely going to do it through watching our video again. This time, so last time I had you count how many times they said the word empathy, but this time I want you to count how many times they say the words recognize those feelings, okay? So remember, we are counting how many times they say recognize those feelings.
I bet you've had strong feelings coming from within. Hard to see another's point of view when you're in your own skin. Changing your perspective, thinking through your stuff. Empathy's not easy when the going gets rough. You know that it may be hard to think it through. Other people feeling different because they're not you. You gotta walk in their shoes. Take a look and see what they're seeing. Walk in their shoes. Try to understand what it would feel like to be them. You gotta walk in their shoes. Empathy is what we're saying. Recognize those feelings. You felt them too. That's empathy. You see, she's getting angry. You felt that feeling too. Embarrassed, jealous, scared, strong emotions through and through. Empathy's the pathway to recognize and walk, so you can dish out some compassion and really walk the talk. People showing strong feelings, what do? Show them that you get it. Treat them with kindness through and through. You gotta walk in their shoes. Take a look, see what they're seeing. Walk in their shoes. Try to understand what it would feel like to be them. You gotta walk in their shoes. Empathy is what we're saying. Recognize those feelings and reach out to, yeah, empathy. Empathy. Yeah, empathy.
All right, so how many times did you guys hear recognize those feelings? How many you think? So actually it was said twice during the video. It was like once toward the middle and then once at the end when they were sitting on the word empathy. All right. So usually when I started this, I had the groups break up, but even they couldn't do it exactly the way, because remember, this program is a couple of years old, so it's not very old, but this is pre-COVID. And so the whole activity was supposed to be someone is the sculptor and someone is the clay. And so the clay is not supposed to say anything and the sculptor is supposed to sculpt. And so, well, really both of them are not supposed to say anything and sculpt the clay into what they want. Obviously with COVID, we're not supposed to be touching each other. So I did make this a talking activity. And actually all my kids who did participate, if you're listening, you guys actually all did a really great job with doing it. I felt like nobody was, super loud, and we did get what we want out of our clay. But just imagine, okay, so let's make you the clay and you have an invisible sculptor working on you, okay? So I want you to come up with a shape that is aggressive. Okay, and I feel like everyone knows that word because it's very hard to explain aggressive. So show me a really aggressive shape. Okay, so I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about it. Okay, so in my groups, we had a lot of great aggressive shapes. Of course, we had some that held their fists up that looked like they were about to fight, you know, that was great. I think we even had someone who was like that, which is very aggressive. Um, so yeah, a lot like that. So all of that is really aggressive. So if you can just imagine some of these shapes that I made, how would it make you feel if someone made this posture towards you? Well, you might feel threatened, like they're trying to hurt you, intimidated, afraid, angry. And I know one thing that's very that I see a lot in kids is that you get defensive. So I get a lot of people who say, "Oh, well, he hit me first, and so it was okay to hit back." But that's the defensive feeling. Um, so is this a respectful way to stand when you're trying to communicate what you want or need? In other words, do you think that you're going to get what you want if you do it in an aggressive way? Okay. So I also like to give myself as an example, like if I was an aggressive teacher, I might say, guys, you need to be quiet. It needs to happen now. And does that usually work for teachers when they get very aggressive? It really doesn't work. It doesn't get you the respect that you're looking for. Okay. So now usually I would have you guys switch, and whoever was a sculptor is now the clay, and the clay is now the sculptor. But now I want you to come up with a passive shape. And sure enough, almost everyone looked at me, what's passive? What's passive? And usually in both of my classes, because at this point I had taught both of my classes, they would say, oh, well, angry's mad, so passive must be happy. Not necessarily. So passive is more just the opposite of aggressive. So yeah, a very aggressive person is like in your face and has to have their way and is going to yell and scream. So just kind of the opposite of that. So I'm just going to give you a second to try and think of it on your own, and then I'll give you some good passive, because I actually got some really great passive clay that I could definitely kind of show you. So just take a couple of seconds to think what a passive shape would look like. So passive, probably the best way to describe it would be not happy, because usually someone who's very passive isn't necessarily happy, but they're usually pretty shy. So like aggressive is in your face. They're not shy at all because they're going to tell you what they want. Passive is more like, I'm not going to say anything about that. I'm just going to and so a lot of my passive shapes were more, I had someone get down on the ground and put their head in between their arms, which was great. That's like the extreme passive, but that's still, I even had like someone stand like this, which I thought was really perfect. Yeah, so there was a bunch of great passive shapes that I saw. Oh, I think I even saw someone like do that, which I thought was really cool too. So all of those are great example of passive. So those of you who are the clay, which is everyone who's practicing it now, does this feel like a body position that is going to help you communicate what you need or want? No, it's different from aggressive, but is it still going to get you what you need or want? No. Why not? Well, because you might feel weak, you might feel shy, not very confident. So it's not really a way to get what you want either. So today we're going to practice using your body, your words, and your tone of voice to communicate what you need or want when dealing with friends and adults in school. It's called being assertive. Okay, so we have the aggressive, which is the passive, which is the, and then we have the assertive, which is right in the middle and and the best way to communicate what you want and need. Okay, so what do you think you need to do with your posture, words, and tone of voice when being assertive? First, let's start with posture. Probably the best posture for assertive, or just the way your body would look, is more back straight, shoulders back, facing the person, because probably a more passive person would just be like, "Oh, I want this." But when you're more assertive, you're facing the person. More of a confident feeling in your body. So shoulders back, chest forward, face forward. Let's see. Yeah, I think we have everything with posture. I think that's the best way to describe assertive. So your words, what kind of words should you use? Probably the best description is respectful words, okay? So you want to say it in a way that communicates what you want in a respectful way. And the tone of voice. So the best way would be to use a very calm but firm voice, okay? Because we don't want to go too calm, because then we're getting into a passive. But a very firm voice tends to get a little bit more aggressive. So you want to try to find that calm but firm, very similar to how I'm talking right now to you guys. So just kind of clearly communicating how you want it. So these are the best ways to be assertive. Face the person you're talking to, keep your head up and your shoulders back, use a calm, firm voice, and use respectful words. Being assertive is a skill that you can use when solving problems, standing up for yourself or others, and making friends. So now we're going to watch a video about a student who is trying to figure out the best way to get what she wants. See if you can tell what she needs or wants to happen.
Okay, listen up, you two. Here's what we'll do. We'll make a model of the molecule completely out of gumdrops. First, Tori, you're not very artistic, so you'll get all the pictures of the molecule off the internet.
Wait.
Then, Sierra, you'll be in charge of all the supplies. But I'll do all the building because I am very artistic. I know so much about science. I get the good grades in school, and let's just say you guys are not that good at science. Remember last year when we did our project?
Jayla's just taking over this project. I really want to have a say in what topic we choose. And we all need to have an equal share in the work. It's really hard to stand up to Jayla. She might get mad at me. I can tell Tori doesn't like her idea either. I'd wish she'd say something.
So think about what Sierra wants or needs to happen. Usually this is where I get you guys to kind of talk about it. But what are some things that Sierra wants or needs to happen? So probably some of the things that you might be thinking of. She wants to have a say in what topic they choose. Because remember, she turned around and was like, we're doing this, and this is how it's going to happen. She also needs everyone in the group to have an equal share in the work. So it shouldn't be just Jayla doing all the work. It should be shared. She wants Jayla to stop being so bossy, but she also wants Tori to help. So these are all different things that Sierra wants or needs to happen during this situation. So Sierra wants to have a say in the topic her group chooses, and she needs everyone to share the work equally. First, she needs to say something to Jayla. Is Jayla being passive, assertive, or aggressive? Jayla is aggressive. Remember that first one? Now she's not holding up her fist, but it's very aggressive the way her tone of voice and everything is. But and which leads to our next one. How can you tell? Her voice is loud. She's being bossy and rude. She is saying some mean things when she's saying, I'm the smart one. You're not so smart. You guys are not that good. And she is being very disrespectful in the way she's approaching it. So Sierra needs to tell Jayla assertively that she wants to participate in the project too. When she speaks to Jayla, what tone of voice will sound assertive? Remember we had talked about this just a couple minutes ago? Firm, calm, confident, serious, like she means it, okay? So, yeah, we want to see her really communicate what she needs. What kind of posture will look assertive? We talked about that too. Facing Jayla, keeping her head up and her shoulders back. And what kind of words should she use? Very clear and respectful words. Turn to your partner and come up with a clear, respectful statement Sierra can say to Jayla. Then practice saying the statement to each other. We kind of skipped this in my class because we kind of ran out of time, just because we were really talking a lot about the difference between assertive, aggressive, and passive. But just think, if you were in Sierra, what could be a respectful statement that you could say to Jayla? And it might be something along the lines like, Jayla, we're all responsible for this project, so we all need help. That's not telling her anything disrespectful. It's just saying what needs to happen. Or it could be, Jayla, Tori and I need to help too. So even something like that is still very respectful. Sierra also needs to say something to Tori, because in the video, was Tori being passive, assertive, or aggressive? Tori was actually being very passive. If you remember, she was kind of sitting on her desk like this. She tried to say something at some point, but she wasn't very clear in how she was saying it. And so she was very passive. So how can you tell? She's not saying anything. She's looking down. She's not making eye contact. Her posture is slumped. So these are all different things that Tori's doing, which shows that she's being very passive. So Sierra needs to tell Tori assertively that they need her to help with the project too. Turn to your partner and come up with a clear, respectful statement Sierra can say to Tori, then practice saying the statement to each other. So remember, she needs to tell her like, hey, you can't just not do anything in this, you have to help too. So saying something like, Tori, we need your help. Tori, we are all responsible for this project and we all need to help. Now let's see how Sierra responds assertively to both Jayla and Tori.
It's really hard to stand up to Jayla. She might get mad at me. I can tell Tori doesn't like her idea either. I'd wish she'd say something. Well, I guess it's up to me.
And then,
Jayla, your idea sounds very interesting, but we need to make sure that everyone in the group gets to help make the decision about what we're going to do and have part in making it. Tori, remember last time when we did this project? You had some really great ideas. You need to let us know what you're thinking too. We all need to work together.
So in that situation, Sierra was able to assertively say her point of view and what everyone needs to do to help with the project. Now is when we usually do some skill practicing. But unfortunately, since it's just you guys, maybe these are some things that you can think of on your own. And I can go ahead and read the worksheet and I'm going to attach it to the classroom as well. So now we're going to do some skill practice. Who remembers why we practice? I know we talked about it last time. We do it to get better, to build connections in our brain, to make our skills permanent. So the more we practice speaking assertively, the better we'll get. For instance, as a person who teaches stuff like this, I've learned to be assertive just by doing this. Because actually, I used to do second step. I used to teach second step. That was one of my first classes. And I remember even me just being really aggressive with my poor sixth graders, just because sometimes they wouldn't listen. And so I had to find more assertive ways to get what I needed. So the more you practice, the better you get. So today you're going to practice being assertive. In real life, it's not always easy to be assertive. That's why we practice, to get better. Being assertive is the best way to communicate what you need or want at school, okay? So the worksheet has 4 scenarios, okay? Let's just kind of quickly go through them since you guys probably don't have a chance to do this with someone, okay? So what I'm going to go ahead and read the scenario, and I'm going to give you a chance to try and think of a way to assertively express yourself. And then in the next one, I'll read that too, and we'll try and figure it out together. So, scenario number 1, you are having trouble understanding a test question. Assertively ask your teacher to clarify what it means, okay? So think of an assertive statement to ask your teacher to clarify what it means. Okay, so I can see how this is kind of tough because it's during a test and really you're not supposed to talk during a test, but if you have questions, it is okay. And actually even for standardized testing, if they can read the question, which I know most of you guys, you will not get the question read, but if you were able to get it read, they can read the question again, okay? But they can't really say it in a different way, okay? So maybe the teacher might have a way to say it. You could just say something like, well, we'll use me, Miss Byrnes, I don't really understand what this is asking. Could you explain it in a different way? That might be a good way for me to do it. So when I handed this out, I had a lot of kids raise their hand and just say, I don't understand. What are we doing? And that's even still a respectful way. I can see how some teachers would get frustrated about that because they feel like they spent a lot of time explaining it. But I don't mind going back and saying, okay, let's read the scenarios and figure out a way to talk about it assertively. Okay, so that's the first one. And really, like anything that just involves a respectful statement toward the teacher. Like, for instance, I was joking around with somebody and I said, okay, how would you say that assertively? Would you say, teacher, I don't understand this? That's not very assertive. That tends to get pretty aggressive. And then as I was walking away, I kept hearing the kids say, teacher. I'm like, maybe not starting off with teacher is a good way to start off, at least, because I think even just saying teacher kind of makes it a little bit disrespectful. But I'm sure that he meant like the teacher's name, like he would say Miss Byrnes instead of just teacher. So yeah, just finding a good way to make that respectful. So someone tries to push in front of you to get on the bus. Assertively tell the person to go to the back of the line. I'll admit, both of these are kind of hard situations because I've definitely seen this too, where somebody might have pushed and then I hear teachers say, we're all going to the same place anyway, which kind of makes you feel like you got in trouble. But in this case, you could say like, hey, we've been waiting here longer, so we should be able to choose our seat on the bus first, I think that's the best way to do it. We've been waiting longer instead of saying you're doing this wrong, because we don't want to make you statements. We want to more say I statements, like I've been waiting here longer. I feel like I should be able to choose my seat first. Not necessarily say I get a better seat, because then that makes them really upset. But I get to choose my seat first. So. There is a new girl in your class. Your friend is saying mean things about the way she dresses. Assertively tell your friend to stop saying mean things. It's hard when your friends decide that they don't like someone else and you want to stay friends with them, but we really want to work toward a school where everyone is accepted no matter what they wear, no matter what they look like, anything like that. So even just saying, hey, let's be nice towards everyone. Let's not make fun of anyone. That's not cool. So I think saying something like that. Also, I've been doing a lot of the bullying lessons with you guys. So yeah, I'm just, this one's really hard. But even saying like something like, hey, I think what she's wearing is cool, and it's cool that she's trying it. I think that's something good you can do. Okay. So number 4, a classmate keeps interrupting you when you are trying to answer questions in a small group discussion. Assertively tell your classmate to stop interrupting and that it is your turn to answer. I do have to say, all of these are very tough situations. What I would do is I would even let them talk for a little bit. Try not to interrupt them at first. And then when they get to a good stopping point, you can start talking and say, can I please have a turn to speak as well? Because I gave you your turn and I didn't interrupt you. And now it's my turn to speak. So saying something like that, I think would be good. Because that one is a tough situation. All of these are really tough situations. So there really is no right answer for anyone, and it's just figuring out the best way. Okay. So let me ask you guys, who finds it hard to be assertive? I'm going to raise my hand because I'll admit I found it hard to be assertive for a really long time. I was actually always a very passive person. Or if I wasn't passive, I would get very aggressive sometimes. But hopefully for you, being assertive is easy. So what can make it difficult to be assertive? Well, if that person has some kind of power over you, like they're bigger than you, older than you, that person won't listen to you. So yeah, it's kind of hard to be assertive when you feel like, especially that they're not really listening. Also, some things that the kids had said was maybe that person is shy. Maybe they're afraid that they're going to start being aggressive. And so these were all definitely some good points. So that does make it difficult to be assertive. So sometimes you might not feel safe being assertive. What should you do if you don't feel safe? Well, you should get an adult and try and get away from the situation. So let's go back to Jayla. Like, let's say, I mean, of course, Jayla handled it beautifully at the end. But what happens if Sierra had said what she said and Jayla was like, no, you know what? We're still doing it my way because I said so. And because, so in that case, yes, you might want to get an adult and just let the adult know, like, hey, this is all of our projects and JLo wants to take over and tell us what to do. But I think Sierra and Jayla and Tori handled it beautifully and tried to take care of the situation by themselves first, because while the teacher is there to help you, sometimes if you can just work it out yourself, like in that situation, then that's the best way, because then you don't even need to get the teacher involved because you are in charge of your problems. Okay, so today we talked about being assertive is the best way to communicate what you need or want from adults and friends at school. Is being passive a good way to communicate what you need? No. Why not? Because you might not be heard or taken seriously. As we saw with Tori in the video, we couldn't even really hear her. And then she ended up just not even saying anything at all after a while. So is being aggressive a good way to communicate what you want or need? What do you think? No, it's not. Why? Why not? Because you might make other people mad. It's disrespectful. It could start a fight. People won't like you. We all want to make some friends. Raise your hand if you think being assertive is a good way to communicate what you need or want. Continue to hold your hand up if you're going to try to use the skill of being assertive this week. And I think this is definitely something we can practice. Again, I'm giving you guys homework, and this is not homework that you turn in. This is homework that you do on your own. So think about one time that you can try to be assertive this week. It could be letting a teacher know that you need help on something. It could be letting a friend know that, hey, I need to help with this project too, just like our situation. So thinking of a way that you can be assertive this week, okay? And some examples are on the playground. You can be assertive on the playground. When you have a problem with someone else, when you need to stand up for yourself, and when you need to get help from an adult. So these are all some great ways to be assertive. So I hope you guys learned something today, because being assertive is a really hard skill to master. And so I'm glad that you guys are practicing it now, so that hopefully when you get to be my age, you're going to be perfect at it. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I hope that you find ways to be assertive at home and at school. Okay? I look forward to seeing you guys in the next lesson.